Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be a GPU mining update video. This is going to be where I'm now at the end of March 2024. Gonna kind of go over just the whole market. We're going to go over profitability, what coins are popping, those more popular coins, how well they're doing, and kind of give a brief overview on prices and how like proof of work things are kind of going, right? So that sounds good, guys. Stay tuned. Let's get to this thing. So we'll start on hashrate.no. Kind of been the similar story every time we do these update videos. It's a new flavor of the week. Currently it is, the hell is this thing called? HUSAT. HTN is currently the most profitable. It is another new coin. It is on Pyrin hash, right? So it is another fork. Currently it is doing very well. It's bringing in over $3 a day in revenue on a 4090. And it's been doing well for a few days actually, right? So it's going to be hard to tell how long that lasts. Will it be a few days? Will it be a week? Will it be a month? Who knows? Some of the other big hitters, Pyrin. Pyrin has been popping off for whatever reason. I can't even tell you why. I haven't really looked into it too much. But that's another one. We'll look at the charts here in a second that has been popping off like crazy. So congrats to you guys who mined and held that thing. But as we go down the list, things are still just looking good. Right, as we go all the way down, it takes quite a while to find something that's not profitable. Literally every card, even the Intel cards, like things are just looking good in that department. Because again, for me, my strategy, break even or better. Break even or better. I'm happy. More specifically, my strategy right now is I'm just trying to focus more on quality coins that I want to hold into the bull market. I'm not necessarily going to be degenning as much unless there is a good opportunity there, right? There's a standout coin coming out. It is doing something new. It's not a fork of something. It's a new algo. Something enticing, something different with it. But currently, when I see just, fork after fork after fork, kind of gets old right now. I'm just trying to hyper-focus on those other coins. Once I have my allocation that I want of those coins and I'm more interested, then maybe I'll go there. But for now, while yield is still good on a lot of these coins, that's more where my personal focus is at. So as we look at profitability on a 3070, kind of a similar story. The last update we did, which was back in January, it's actually slightly less. At that time, it was AIPG, AI Power Grid. That was the flavor of the week back then. But again, it's just been the same story. But realistically, again, for me, if it's break even or better, currently I'm focusing more on the coins that I want to realistically definitely accrue and hold into the bull market. There is also the strategy of mining what's most profitable and then selling into that coin. And that's something I would definitely do as well. But it would have to be a coin that I feel is going to hold its value well for a while. Again, I don't want to do this thing where I'm like switching coins on a daily, weekly, realistically even like a monthly basis. I'd rather just like set it and forget it kind of thing at this point. Okay, so that is definitely a viable strategy, but I would recommend doing it with a coin that you think is going to stay profitable for at least a little period of time, or at least more profitable than the coin that you want to accrue. Like for example, with Alephium, that was a good strategy, mining Alephium while it was at damn near $4 and then mining it into something else, right? Because I had more confidence that that one would remain profitable because it is a prominent coin, and then flipping into a coin that maybe it isn't doing well at that moment. For example, like Radiant or Nexa, one of those. That was a really good strategy. There is an automated way to do that. You could do that with like Unminable and such. But just keep in mind, you're not going to get the greatest return. You're going to do better by doing it manually, but it does save you that headache. And realistically, that headache may be worth it just because like that's part of the reason I didn't do too many videos this week. Freaking taxes were a freaking nightmare because of all the shit coining. Right? So that's another reason that I'm like, no more of that. And then I'm still going to do it if the opportunity's there, but I'm definitely going to keep better track of it at the moment. So like I'll be doing either probably like a monthly like note taking, just hey, when I manually writing it down so it's easy to find those transactions, what I did, what exchange, what did I sell into, etc. So like for example, for doing the thing where you're getting what's most profitable and flipping something else, Unminable kind of saves you that headache because you're not having to do that manual calculation, right? Because at the end of the day, it's whenever it hits your wallet. So if it's a coin that you're still accruing anyway, it's an easier way to do it. It's a more automated way, right? You're not going to get as much though. I know it says it's only a small fee or whatever, but people have done videos on it regarding that. but it does automate things, right? But realistically, again, my strategy now, more at the point where I want to focus on just quality coins, right? Again, unless something pops out. But currently, again, as we look at the top on a 3070, Husa is number 1, bringing in 71 cents a day in revenue. Xano, number 2, 82 cents, right? And then dual mining is still popular on the 3070. We have Conflux and Radiant, Hypera and Nexelia, Hypera Carlson. I haven't even seen this coin yet. AITT coin, another Pouw. Algo coin. Again, every time we've done these videos, it's a new branch of coins. Another popular one has been like Nautilus. Nexelia is one that something happened with. It's a lot of coins, right? It's up to you to dig and see what your current strategy is going to be. Because again, in reality, there's no best strategy. It's whatever kind of makes most sense to you, right? In the day, for me, mining and hodling coins that I believe in has been my strategy. That's worked out extremely well, and that's just my play with it. And some of you guys have also done extremely well shitcoining, right? Getting these coins before they hit the exchanges. As soon as they hit that exchange, dump it and then on to the next one. That has also been extremely profitable. A lot more work, right? Eventually, once I get bored of doing what I'm doing and focus more back here, I'll probably get more into it, but at least for now, it's not super appealing. As we look at some of the price section on some of these coins, Pyrin has been the standout. It has freaking done extremely well just this month alone, right? It's not even something that was like over time, a gradual thing. Literally, beginning of this month, we were at like 2 to 3 cents. And 3 weeks later, nearly 28 cents. So about a 9x in a couple of weeks. So congrats to anybody who got in on this, anybody who had a bag. That was a good time to unload. Who knows if it does better. Realistically, I didn't even look at what the catalyst was. I don't know if it was a listing or what the hell it was. Let me know in the comments, because I probably won't look it up, because again, I realistically don't have a whole lot of interest in it. Although if it does remain in this level, right, because it's retracing, because people are taking profits, etc. If it does remain this profitable though for a little bit, if it stays anywhere near this range, the one to look into, right? We definitely want to see profitable coins that are profitable more long term and don't just, skyrocket, because then what happens when they skyrocket? This happens, right? So we went from being at about 400 terahash to about 1.6 petahash. Right? So the freaking difficulty hash rate increased by 4x, right? So it's what always happens, right? That's what we've been saying, that the best time to mine was all of last year, right? Or whenever yield has been better. And I'm still a firm believer in that. The best time to mine, even for this coming bull market, is all this time we've had, and even just right now, while the yield is better prior to the coins having those run-ups. Okay, that's definitely been the name of the game with GPU mining, is just pure speculation. Mining and hodling certain coins, right? Certain people haven't done as well as others, but currently right now the market has been doing extremely well, right? So it's up to you on what you ultimately decide as being your strategy. You guys who follow these videos, you kind of know what mine is. It's focusing on more quality coins that I feel are more quality, and focusing on that. Not necessarily focusing on having 100 little moon bags, but I'd rather have 5 larger allocations of coins that I feel more comfortable to do well. Will it pan out? Maybe. Will maybe only one of them pop off? Maybe. Right? But so far, it's been a pretty good strategy. Okay. So we go on to the next coin on our list. We'll look at Alephium, and it's one that has been on a downtrend, but again, it had such a crazy run up. This is not something that's unexpected. It almost hit freaking $4. It was like $3.80 something cents last month. Currently at $2.50. Again, still crazy up. It's still possible it continues to go down, and wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world. Wouldn't be a concern at all, because again, we were at like 12 cents back in October. Okay, so this is something that has gone up extremely massively. Things are looking pretty good as far as on the mining front goes. The difficulty did go down because, of course, the profitability went down. So depending on your viewpoint, this is a better time to mine it than it was back here. Obviously, the best time to mine it was prior to all this, but these are the things you want to look for, because now that things for the most part are comfortably profitable, I would be okay with mining the coins you want to get, even if it's not the most profitable. Again, for me, break even or better, because again, whether it's making $1 a day or 10 cents a day, if it's a coin that I want to allocate, I don't really care, because I'm not going to be selling now. It's just to sell in the bull market. That's when I'm concerned with it. So that's why when the yield is good and it's a coin that's on my list, that's the time to be stacking, right? And an example of this, we'll get to next here in a second, but we'll go to Radiant next. They've been doing quite well ultimately this past month, and it's because they've been having a lot of good news. The halving is coming up, so it's been getting a little bit of hype there. That MEXC listing looks like they did get their funding, so that'll be happening probably in the next month or so. So good things there. So again, if this is a coin you do want to allocate, you want to get it before the halving. So I think people are coming to the realization. So between the good news and the realization that the halving is in about a month, the hash rate has doubled in the matter of days, right? We're at 60 terahash March 22nd. 4 days later, it has nearly doubled. So again, you want to get it when the yield is good. Nexa is a perfect example of that. The price action has been horrible though. This one has not kept up with the market very well. And if it's a coin you're bullish on, it's a good accumulation time, right? Whether you buy it or whether you mine it, right? So this is one on the yield front. Pretty appealing because the hash rate is currently at about 5 terahash. The last time it was this low, we have to go all the way back to January 23. So well over a year ago was the last time the difficulty was this low. So if this is one that's on your list, one to consider, right? It's up to you. But again, the focus for me would be like here or the Radiant, what they're having coming up in under a month, right? Those are definitely things you want to look at least for me, right? Again, it's just all on your strategy. Everybody has their coins. Everybody has their different ways of doing it. And again, there is no wrong way. It's just your way. Whatever makes most sense to you, we'll see, right? Next coin is one that is not very popular, but does have a big change coming. Ironfish. Ironfish ultimately has been holding up pretty well. This recent pump, it did make it near the $3 range, which is pretty good considering pretty much most of the summer last year we're hovering between like 60 to 70 cents. So we're currently at $1.87, still holding up fairly well. Their big thing though is they do have a hard fork coming because they are changing their mining algorithm to a more memory intensive algorithm to try to get it to be more GPU centric versus currently right now there were a lot of FPGAs at one point. They were kind of taking over the network essentially. So they decided to do something about it, which is a good change for the GPU mining community, right? Even if you're not into this coin, even if you despise it, oh, it's VC garbage, whatever you may think of it, it's just more opportunities, right? More competition, another profitable coin that's going to stay GPU mineable, which is what we want to see, right? If we look at their current hash rate, it's been hovering in the same range. Kind of surprisingly, because again, once it goes to this different algorithm, it is going to get a little harder to get, right? So there is possible we do get a little price appreciation, only because technically the cost to mint it is going to go up because again, your power consumption is going to go up, right? So for example, me, I mined it for as soon as it was available with that E100, it was on there. I had my other cards on there, and it's something that was very efficient on FPGAs. So now it's going to be a little more power intensive, more power hungry. Yield may not be as great, but it just depends on what happens, right? It'll be interesting to see what ends up happening here. Is it going to get a little hype? A lot of people going to jump on it initially. If it doesn't get a lot of hype, it's one you may want to jump on for a day or two because yield might be excellent prior to people really finding out. Again, it's not a very popular coin in our community, so if you don't see much coverage on it, this is one you may want to follow because again, this is going to be like next week. It's April 2nd. Okay, so it's coming up very, very quickly. So pretty cool. We'll see what the outcome is, how well it does, and maybe other coins decide to do something similar instead of trying to go to this immediate ASIC route, because again, there are a lot of benefits being a GPU mining centric coin, right? We'll see how it plays out. We'll see how it does, okay? Now we'll focus on the pricing. So we'll go look at some of the 3000 series cards. The 3060 Ti's are hovering in the 250 to 270 range. They've been kind of staying there. They were like 220 to 240, kind of just overall in this range, right? Kind of just depends. It has these ebbs and flows, but it's ultimately been staying there. They're not selling super quick. The ones that are under 250 have, so anything like 220 to 240 has been selling usually that same day that it's been listed. So that's why it's kind of hard to decipher the data if you're just looking at overall sales, right? To me, it kind of matters like how long it's actually up for sale, right? There were certain points in times where as soon as anything under 250 was listed, it was gone within minutes. Now it's to the point where anything under like 220, 240 has been going fairly quickly. 250 to 260 seems to be where it's at, right? Because even right now, like this PNY listing, it's a refurb. It's been there for quite a while. It's not really selling out. Zotac had refurbished ones direct from Zotac at 249, and even those did last a little while. So something to take note of. 3070s are quite a bit higher. They're more in the $300 range, right? Sometimes they do pop up slightly less, but ultimately it's been the $300 range. Depending on where the price point's at, like if the 3060 Ti's were like 270, 280, then it makes more sense to go with the 3070. But if there's a significant discount, like my target is 220, 240 for 3060 Ti's, that to me is a little bit more appealing, right? Because they're very similar. There's only like a 10-15% price difference, and it makes more sense to go with the 3070. But if the discount is more aggressive, I have a preference with 3060 Ti's. They have treated me very well. So that's where my eye is, but both cards are definitely solid. And that's kind of where my focus is at. The other focus would be building an eventual AMD card rig. It's just, I kind of waited too long. Prices are a little too high. Would ideally want to do a 6800 XT rig. Potentially a 6600 XT if the prices are low enough. They'd have to be under 150 for it to make sense. Currently prices are about 200. Okay, which is not a crazy difference, but again, over the span of like 10 cards, it adds up, right? The 6800 XT is staying in that $400 range. This one I kind of do regret because this one has gone up a good amount. They were easily available for like $3 to $330 for quite a while. Super slacked on it. I really kind of regret not getting one in that price range. Ultimately, staying in the $400 range. Okay, we'll see where it kind of ends up going from here. May stay there, just ultimately depends on what happens with the newer cards. Currently, you can't really undervolt them, so like ideally, I would go with the new variant, right? The 7800, because it's pretty much the same price. And obviously, it's a much newer card. The problem is just the clocking status, right? So we'll see if they eventually get cracked and we're able to undervolt them, make them more efficient. But as it is, the 6000 is kind of where it's at for mining, okay? If we look on open box and refurb deals, like this is another good indicator. So even like on Zotac, they've had their 3070 for $285 and it's been up for like well over a week now. When the 3060 Ti was here, it was at $249. It was up there for quite a while. Also, even listing on here and on eBay, it didn't sell out very quickly at all. So not a bad price. Yes, the fans on these things are horrible, so something to keep in mind. But it's just giving us that price range and kind of seeing how popular they are. Because if it was at $285 and it sold out in a day, some of them have sold out fairly quickly, but in this case, it has not. Right? So we look at the more higher end. We look at like 4000 series cards, the 4090. These things have been easy to get in stock. Like I'm not even posting updates. I was putting little updates, little community posts whenever they would come in stock. But they've been in stock essentially every day past couple of months. Some card has been in stock. They go in and out. Right now is actually a really good time because damn near all of them are in stock. So they've had the MSI Slim for quite a while. The Gigabyte card is there. They have the PNY, both PNYs. Those are all there. But again, those are all 1800 is like the new MSRP now. It was $1599, $1649. The Founders is still at that price point. That is the one that sells out instantly though whenever there's a restock, just because again, it's a couple $100 cheaper. As far as open box deals go, for the newer cards, Best Buy has been a good option with the Gigabyte cards. I don't know what their deal is, but it's specific to the Gigabyte cards. Those are the only ones that they do offer open boxes on, right? So I don't know if they have some kind of partnership with them and then it's just a general refurb for them or what it is exactly, but all the open box deals I have seen and currently that I like, that's how I got my Gigabyte 4090. It was an open box one back like last April. It was like $1,200. But they do pop up pretty often, even some of the newer ones. Like I was kind of hoping now with the Supers being released, we would get some other deals on some of the older variants, so like the regular 4070 or the regular 4070 Ti. Haven't really found any, right? There has been some good deals actually on the open box Supers. Like even right now near me, there is a 4070 Ti Super for like $679, which is pretty much the same price as the open box 4070 Ti. But again, the Super variant is closer to like a 4080. So not a bad deal, but ultimately, the only 4000 series I've come to the conclusion that I would consider would maybe a 4080, but maybe another 4090. Reason being is it's the most versatile for potential proof of use for work applications. Okay, so it's kind of undecided where to go. Ultimately, I have come up with a plan that it does make more sense to 100% go with 3000 series cards versus any of the more mid-tier 4000 series cards. Mainly because potential resale. Like for me, the kind of thought process was, well, maybe I can look for some cheap 4070s or 4070 Supers, open box, used, etc., etc. Because they'll have a warranty, they're newer, they're more likely to last longer. What makes more sense though is, even if that is the plan, right, which that kind of is going to be the plan, is to either go 4000 series or 5000 series in this coming bull market. But I think it makes more sense to go 3000 series and then flip them into those cards in the bull market if things do pop off. Reason being, I see it more likely to have higher appreciation on the 3000 series cards versus the 4000. For example, we've been able to pick up 3060 Ti's in the 2 to 220 range. If things pop off, I could see them going back up to $500 again, being a 2.5x from that initial price point. If things pop off on like a 4070 Ti, do I necessarily see them going up 2.5, 3x, going up to $2,000? Possible, sure, not as likely. Unless things get like ETH crazy again. And even then, 2K for like a more mid-tier card, kind of a tough sell, right? So realistically, it would make more sense to buy a bunch of 3000 series cards. Maybe they do appreciate, and then flip those into either 4,000 or 5,000 series cards, because 5,000 will be out by then, right? So it's kind of where the plan is. I'm not fully sold. It kind of just depends on price points. There are things to factor in, like what if there is a GPU shortage? Like what if things do happen, and then the 5,000 series, which I'm banking on, is either extremely expensive or extremely gimped again. This is another thing people aren't factoring in. Like, oh yeah, we're going to have GDDR7. So the 5090 will probably be nice, beefy, $2,500 card, but who's to say that their more mid-tier cards don't also get gimped, right? Like there's still unknowns there, or maybe there's a shortage. Who knows, a plethora of factors. But my mindset is, if I were to get any 4000 series cards, most likely it will be a 4090, but most likely the play will be add some 3000 series cards. Eventually, that's the plan. Even right now, it's hard to pull the trigger still. I'm still kind of up in the air, right? Like realistically, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. Like I want to, and I'm probably going to. It makes the most logical sense, but it's just not super appealing with the way things are going currently. I'm kind of really wanting to see how a lot of these proof of use for work things play out. That's gonna be realistically the deciding factor, right? Especially with Flux saying that it's going to be up to 10 times more profitable and all this stuff. If that does pan out, then that will definitely shift things quite a bit. Because again, at the end of the day, those 3000 series cards for that use case aren't going to be the most appealing things. It's going to be more the latest and greatest, like 4080 and above, right? Things with 16 plus gigabytes of VRAM, that's going to be what's most needed there. So realistically, those are going to be versatile. So that's kind of like what I'm waiting for. Because then at that point, I could comfortably buy the infrastructure for it, right? Like right now, it's like, what if that really pops off and that's where the form factor is? Then okay, then I also need to get motherboards, processors to be able to utilize that. So I can't be using these old ass like Intel Celerons that are on these like mining rigs. You're gonna want like good Ryzens or good, whatever. It's a different set of infrastructure you're gonna need versus buying like server cases on like 1X risers, etc., right? So I don't plan on having a ton of GPUs anyway, so it's not super important. Like if the plan was to have 100 GPUs by the bull market, then yes, server cases for sure for 3000 series cards. But if the end goal is only to, like at this point, I'm probably going to be 50-50, right? Like right now I'm like 90% ASIC, 10% GPU. The plan is to go probably 50-50. It was to go 100% GPU. But I'm not too sure. The value proposition with ASIC is just so much better. Right? So it's hard to decide either way, right? So it's a constant game of sitting around and kind of not knowing what to do, but I'm just kind of waiting really, because a lot of these are going to be coming soon. That's a good segue into going into Flux, which has finally had some good price action, right? It's finally kind of jumping on that GPU the AI narrative, the DPIN narrative. So things have been going very good there. They do have their Flux core coming within the next few days, right? Unless something changes here pretty soon. I think it's the 29th. So literally in a matter of days, we'll be able to actually use this thing. The alpha has been out, but we're supposed to have things. So they did release some more info. They did release some of the tokenomics. The standout thing that I'm sure people are going to complain about is the fact that they're going to take 20% of the rewards for them, which to me, it makes sense because that's what the competition is doing. And in reality, Flux is doing way more than a lot of these other companies. Like, for example, with like Vast AI and such. Like, Flux is going out there. They're going to these trade shows. They're trying to put it out there. They're trying to build these partnerships. And it's a much more complete system with a lot more development. So that's part of the reason I get people's concern with it. But we have to really wait and see what happens with it. Is there going to be actual use case? Are people actually going to really use them? What's going to be utilized? What's going to be most profitable? We're going to have to wait and see, right? But realistically, they are the most advanced ecosystem out there for this. They just haven't had the crazy run-up that a lot of these other platforms and programs have had. But realistically, as far as like from actually being able to be utilized, they're probably going to be the most advanced, right? So like even Render, which we've talked about, has crazy freaking price action, but as far as actual use, it's a different story. And that's where kind of, when you look at, when you really dive deep, that's where kind of things do kind of change a little bit, right? So it all depends on the incentive though, because again, the incentive, how much we're earning, is what's going to drive it, and specifically what we need to do so, right? Like I know Flux's big thing is that, oh, even like 1080 Ti's will be utilized. We have to wait and see like what use case, how they're going to get clustered. There's a lot of variations, a lot of variables. So hopefully it does play out. Hopefully that does work, because this is going to be huge for GPU mining, right? Even if you have no interest in the proof of use for work aspect, again, that's going to decrease the hash rate. It's going to spread things out. This is what's going to make things more viable. Even if necessarily these mining coins don't pop off, this is going to be a huge factor, okay? Because especially the way they're implementing theirs, where you're going to be able to toggle something and be able to take these proof of use for work jobs, and then when it's done, go back to mine. Like the way they're putting it in makes a ton of sense, right? So will I be participating once they initialize? Not yet. Currently, the one I am messing with is io.net. This is one I did start. I'm going to do it for a month and just for the airdrop. So if you've never heard of io.net, they're very closely tied with Render and with Filecoin. So essentially they're going to be the supplier of the GPUs for these programs. So that's why there is a lot of hype with it. The token is not out yet. They're kind of giving us the hints that end of April is when it'll come out. So currently right now you can deploy with them in order to earn a potential airdrop. We don't necessarily know how lucrative it's going to be. Am I going to deploy a lot? No. I have an extra PC with a 3080 on it. That's what I'm going to deploy on it. It's going to be deployed on there for a month. It's probably just going to sit idle there for an entire month, hopefully earning some kind of airdrop. We'll see at this point. I don't mind deploying one GPU, rolling the dice to see what it gets, right? So as we dig through it, we can look on their thing. So they just announced this actually. This is going to be their Ignition Rewards program. They are going to change into a point system, right? So depending on the amount of GPUs, the quality of the GPU, there's going to be different factors that'll determine how many points you get, and that'll determine your airdrop allocation for this thing. So obviously the higher end GPUs, they're going to give you a bigger multiplier. I'm just throwing a 3080 on there. Would I deploy other things? Not really. I mean, if I had more confidence as far as what the allocation would be, I think there's just going to be more money in just mining. But again, I have a single 3080 on a rig. That's what I'm going to throw on there, right? I don't mind just deploying that one. It is very easy to deploy. You literally download Docker. You throw a container on there, run a couple things, open up PowerShell, run a command, and that's essentially it, right? It's fairly easy to use, fairly easy to go live. If you go on YouTube, I'm not going to do a tutorial. There's a bunch of tutorials on it, but literally within a few minutes, you can have it up and running. So again, who knows? Maybe I get $1 worth of IO token. Or maybe it's more substantial. Who knows? This thing does have a lot of backing though. It's when it launches sometime in the end of April, it's probably going to be over $1 billion valuation when it does come out, right? So maybe it'll do well, but again, I'm just throwing a 3080 on there. Maybe I'll just get the minimum, whatever their drop is. I'll roll the dice for a month. We'll see how that pans out. But this is one of the competing things. We'll see what Flux does. We'll see how all that stuff goes. I am going to keep my eyes on it. Am I super bullish on like Render and what they're doing in comparison to like Flux? Like if you look at the stats, it looks crazy, right? They're going to tout how many GPUs they have available and all this stuff. So like currently, like they have 175,000 GPUs available for rent. The problem is that all of these are going to be sitting idle because there is no demand currently, right? They have to really finalize what they're doing, kind of like where like Flux is at. Like even though they are launching theirs and technically it can be rented out, it is a working marketplace currently. They still have a lot of things to figure out to really be able to deploy these things. So you can see IO.net has all those. Render has 12,000. Filecoin has 1,000 GPUs, right? So when you look at it, it's like, oh man, look at all the GPUs they have. But then when you look at how many are actually being rented, non-existent, right? You can see how many 4090s they have. They're freaking 25,000 of them. Just sitting there idling on the network, 0% busy. So none of them are rented out. As you go through the list, literally, there's only a handful of things that are. So these A6000s, these are 20% rented out. The A4000, 17% out. These A100s, though, they're 94%. So these things are up there. But I mean, as you go through the list, there's a ton. So a lot of these guys are going to be competing for that airdrop, which is what a lot of these guys are doing, because realistically, there isn't much of a criteria for it other than having that hardware, right? It's going to be based off of like your upload, download, but not necessarily like more realistic data points. Like it doesn't have to be on a Epic CPU with like a 16x lane. Like literally you can throw an entire mining rig that's the 3080 and it's gonna accrue those points. Because is it gonna be rendered and used for anything by the time the airdrop happens? Probably not. Chances are it's gonna sit there. You will get paid out though. If it does, they do have a current system. So if you do this thing, make sure you do input your Solana address, because if there's an airdrop, that's where it's gonna get input to. But that's why some of these numbers are misleading. Like when you compare it to like Flux, oh, they only have X amount in comparison to these guys. Okay, they have these many deployed, but how many of those are like quality deployments? Probably very few. Like mine is a horrible deployment. I'm just literally airdrop farming, as is probably 95% of these, right? So we have to really see how these marketplaces get utilized. That's going to be the biggest key thing. Like, yes, you can promise all these things in the world and it may look like we need them. And right now things do, right? For like stable diffusion, all these chat GPT things, all these things coming out. But we have to see if it's useful for us normies to be able to deploy our compute power. Because the demand is going to be there for these like super intensive GPUs. So like we saw right now, the A6000s, the A100s, H100s, B100s. Definitely 100% use is going to be there. But we have to see if us normies and like which ones. So realistically, the 4090, 3090, things with 24 gigs of VRAM will definitely most likely be utilized. But will your freaking 1080 Ti be utilized? We're going to have to wait and see on that one, right? So we'll see how things play out. We're going to be following it pretty closely. We'll see how this thing does. I'm not really expecting much. But again, 1 GPU for a month, it's not much of a loss anyway, right? But overall, things are definitely looking good. They are definitely looking promising. Again, as we go on, things are profitable. They've been profitable. Been a lot of gains. Again, the strategy for me 100% has been mine and hodl, right? Like as we mentioned all year long, 10, 20, 30, 40 X's. But again, on a lot of those coins, there weren't necessarily coins that I had supreme confidence in where I allocated much into them, right? It was like about $200 of this coin and a freaking 20X. And yes, that was a nice gain, but I'm more to the point where I want to allocate more resources, more capital into those coins I really believe in, and hopefully that pays off more, right? So I'm still open to the idea of shitcoining. I'm still going to be doing it, especially if something comes up that's promising. But my focus, again, is more on those quality coins. Focus on there, continue to build those bags, once I get that allocation, onto the next one. And once I'm fully good with my allocation, then I'll decide which ones I want to either add more of or add another coin to that list, right? So, because there are always going to be more coins coming out. Maybe the biggest GPU mining coin hasn't even came out yet, right? We're already saying this, oh, there may not be another ETH next cycle. Who knows? It may have not come out yet, may come out the end of this year. Who knows? But we got to keep our eyes open. We got to see what's going on. You got to stay up to date with this stuff. Especially a good example is what happened with Pyrin, because that freaking jump kind of came out of nowhere. So hopefully you guys who did have a bag, were paying attention, did see this, and took some profits, right? Or held if it's a coin you think is going to go up crazy from here. Who knows? Again, it's not a coin I follow. I probably should be following. I got to pay more attention to some of these. Because again, even like WhoSat, like I've no idea. Nautilus, I have no idea what the heck any of these are. As soon as I see Fork, though, it's not intriguing. The one out of the list, I remember hearing about Graham. I know a lot of people got in early on that one. And that was quite a while ago, so it's surprising to kind of just see it just really prominent now. But, again, GPU mining, it's kind of a game. We got to be up to date. It's up to you on what your strategy is, whether you want to do all this coin hopping garbage or if you're just sticking to certain coins, right? That's kind of the place where I'm at. We'll see what GPUs end up adding. Let me know, guys, what you guys are doing. Are you guys shitcoining? Did you guys make mad money off of this Pyrin thing? Are you guys adding more hardware? You guys kind of like met your quota, you're where you wanted to be at, and you're just starting to mine and hodl? Because realistically, a lot of these lows, I think the lows are behind us with GPU prices. I think, you know, the $180 to $200 3060 Ti, I think those days are behind us. Like, I think it's not necessarily going to be up only, but I don't see them decreasing. Will we probably hover here for a while if things kind of stay where they're at? Potentially. Will they go up? Also potentially, right? I just don't think it's super likely that we're going to retrace anything more than like 10-15% from here on out. But again, who knows? Let me know what you guys think in the comments, guys. Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching, and I am out.